Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to show you how to make clay paint, which is a really easy to make, cheap, and totally non-toxic alternative to regular paint. I've got wheat paste here, which I made in another video. I'll link to that below. And then the other ingredients are dry powdered clay and chalk powder. So it's really simple to make. First thing I'm going to do is measure 1 part of wheat paste, and so 1 part of the wheat paste, this is just a mix of flour and water that acts as a binding agent. And I'll also tell you, so clay paint is easy to make, easy to use, easy to clean up after, but it does have one downside. So it's completely water soluble, so you can't wash it once it's on the walls. So I wouldn't use it in a kitchen, but it's fine for a bedroom or low traffic areas where you don't expect to be washing the walls regularly. Of course, one thing you can do is repaint regularly because it's so easy and cheap to make this paint. And it doesn't stink when you're doing it either. 1 part wheat paste, 2 parts water. I'll give that a little stir. I'm going to do it with the immersion blender here. So sometimes if I'm making a really large batch and the immersion blender is too much, or rather the immersion blender wouldn't work, I would pour this part through a sieve to get out any chunks of flour. But because I'm just making a small batch right now, I'll just put the immersion blender in the bowl. So that's 1 part wheat paste, 2 parts water, and now I have 1.5 parts of dry powdered clay. And this looks a bit chunky because my bag of clay was left out in the rain. But it doesn't really matter. The water ratio will be a little off. But I already made this recipe and it turned out fine. So, and I'm not too worried about chunks because I am doing it with an immersion blender. But if I wasn't blending it, then I would probably want to use actually dry powdered clay that, when it comes out of the bag, it has the consistency of like flour or cornstarch or something. It is a fine powder rather than little chunks. So 1.5 parts clay and about 3/4 parts of chalk powder. And then I'll give this a little stir just to get it going. Just to moisten it all really so that I'm not spraying powder everywhere when I get the immersion blender in there. And here we go. Okay, so that's all blended. This is actually a little bit thinner than I would like. So I'm going to add a tiny bit more clay. What I want to see is when drops of paint fall back into the bowl, I want to see some little craters that stay there. And I have almost got that happening, but I think it's still a little bit thin. So I'm going to add a bit more clay. I'll just go and grab that. Okay, so I'm going to add about another 1/4 cup of clay and also a little more chalk just to keep a similar ratio. Again, this is not like baking, so don't be too fussed about exact measurements, just general proportions. I'll just work that in a little so it's not too dusty. And then here we go. Okay, there we have it. I like this consistency. Stirring it leaves a trail, and it's kind of like a very liquidy pudding batter. It's not as thick as the wheat paste was. And drops kind of leave little craters and leave a trace. So that's a good consistency. Another fun thing that you can do with this, so clay paint is totally non-toxic, and it doesn't really smell like anything when you're painting with it. You know, you don't get that awful chemical smell that you get with regular paints. So a fun thing you can do is add some essential oils to it, and then you can enjoy that scent while you're mixing it and painting with it. So that's it.